Tonight's conversation, I guess they breaking up or something, but I had the experience of actually going to one of those podcasts, those live podcastings that they do. It was November 2nd, 2024. And if I had to rate the experience overall, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10. I'm gonna say I was extremely unsatisfied. I thought I overspent. I thought I spent more than what it was worth. It turned out to be extremely immature, and only like 5 or 6 questions were asked, and the people that I was looking forward to speaking didn't really do a lot of speaking at all. I think this was the episode when Dr. Cheyenne Brown was there, but I didn't know any of these people. I just knew about the card game because I had bought the card game one year. The card game was very fun. Love playing it. But back to the show. So when I went to the show, it was date night. So I had my date with me. Of course, it was something that I thought she would like. We get there on time. I'm there maybe like 15 minutes early, but by the time we walk into the Marquee Hotel, 15 minutes has passed. So the line is super long. I'm talking about extremely long. They had all their merch and cards set up, but the line was so long, and I'm not a person who likes waiting in line. And I know that seems impatient, but I'm not an impatient person. I'm just impatient when it comes to waiting in lines. I don't do lines for some reason. But back to the story. The line was super long, so I was already agitated by that. So by the time I actually got into the store, it was they had already started. I guess they had already introduced themselves, and the podcast had already started, and I was seated all the way in the back. And this was in like the banquet hall in the Marquee in Houston. So it's a huge room, and it's the stage, and they have these 2 giant screens with the pictures actually where it's playing a picture so you can see them. I guess the people in the back can see them, but the seating was very close together, so it was uncomfortable. And then I was again all the way in the back, even though I got there on time, so I couldn't see the stage. I had to look at the screen, and even that was difficult because a lot of the women had updos. They had bird nests in their head. I don't know why you go to a show or movie with a bird nest in your head knowing you're gonna have people sitting behind you. That shit is like inconsiderate. But so when people finally start asking questions during the show, it was all like super immature. It was nothing like, it was unserious, super unserious questions. Like I went expecting to learn or to at least get more insight. Like I was excited to hear some insightful responses and questions. Maybe I was like, he can shed some light on my situation, but it was everything but that. None of the questions held any substance, and even worse, none of the responses from the panel like held any substance. I was extremely disappointed. And I think what's the dude, Mojo Jojo, I guess that's what they call him, he was there. Keita, the loudmouth, yeah, she was there. Then you had Kitty, Cheyenne Brown. I think it was one other person. I might be mixing up the cast, but I think those were the people that was there. Overall, it was a bad experience, and I wouldn't spend the money to go to another one. I wouldn't even advise anybody to waste their money going to one of those shows, one of those podcasts to begin with. If I could have requested my money back, I would have, for sure. And then it wasn't just me. When the show was close to being over, even my date at the time, she was unhappy with the show. She was ready to go halfway through. And it seemed like the show went by in like 20 minutes from the time we actually got to sit down to actually participate. And then I was wondering, like, I guess maybe I missed that section, but I was wondering, how did they pick people for questions anyways? And it was like, do you listen to people's questions before you let them ask, or do you just let people ask anything? And I feel like it's a disservice if people sign up for questioning, but you don't figure out what that question is beforehand, because people buy tickets to go to these shows and learn. They don't want to hear no bullshit like, oh, I'm dating a man and now I want to date his friend because he cheated on me. Like, I don't want to hear that. That's frivolous. That's bullshit. If you want to be a hoe, go be a hoe. I don't know. I just was expecting more substance, man, because Like, why you going up there talking about cheating and be like, I don't know. It was less than. That's how I'm gonna leave it. It was less than, extremely less than. After the show, I felt even more played because I decided to look these people up and found out that only Kitty, I think Kitty is the only one that was married. So after I found that out, I felt even more stupid because I should have known this show was gonna be on, you know, shit time, on cow manure time. Like, how you expect to get advice from people who not in relationships, not in successful relationships, not even in a marriage? So if I had known that beforehand, I would have never spent my money on that show. Would have never even thought about going to that show.